exciting week in the gala, wasn't it, guys? I'm feeling pretty good. And this is the weekly Giggity. Alright, let's get into some news and notes, huh? The biggest losses from week 6 is Steelers linebacker Devin Bush and Titans tackle Taylor Lewan, who will miss the rest of the season with torn ACLs. Raiders right tackle Trent Brown and Panthers kicker Joey Sly have tested positive for COVID. The entire Raiders O-line was sent home on Wednesday. Raheem Mostert is likely to land on the IR after suffering another ankle sprain. Mark Ingram left the game with a mid to high ankle sprain, though he has time to rest with a week 7 bye. Same goes for Devontae Parker, dealing with a groin injury. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't practice, who's dealing with an ankle injury. His fucking ankles. Miles Sanders is ruled out of Thursday's game with a knee injury, and Zach Ertz will be sidelined due to an ankle injury. Speaking of Ertz, Sam drops the $29 contract, and Gomez kicks Malcolm Brown his insane $38 contract to the waiver curb. It was a busy waiver Wednesday, and it was led by Tony coughing up $7 for his longtime meal ticket, Antonio Brown. Ariola spends $5 on Boston Scott, and Sam handcuffs Mixon, putting $2 on Gio Bernard. Kevin gets Chargers D, and Tony picks up the Bucks for $2 each. The $1 winners were Jason getting Baker Mayfield, Sam getting Philly D, Nor gets Matt Prater, Gomez gets another Raider and Carlson, Slater picks up Tim Patrick, and Kevin gets Brandon McManus. Michael Gallup and Kirk Cousins were notable drops. Alright, everybody, let's go to the weekly recap. Before we get into the recap, let's honor Mike Gesicki and Juju, who shit the bed with zeros this week. Oh, and we can't forget the Titans defense, getting -2. Let's get right into it, huh? Match 1, Gomez versus Tony. Solid production from the bottom 3 for Tony were enough to solidify a quiet week from the Mexican Joker. Tony finds solace in Ryan Tannehill in his first week without Dak, and Gomez falls hard with quite a few lackluster performances. Tony whips Gomez 70-121. The aforementioned Mike Gesicki was a fucking ghost on Sunday. With only 2 targets and no catches, Gomez obviously missed his boy, Darren Waller. I've been wanting to say this for a couple of years now, but Ronald Jones is on fire. 3 straight games with 100+ yards, and adding a couple of touchdowns on Sunday was icing on the cake, putting 23 points up for Tony. Match 2, Ariola versus Slater. This one was over early, as Slater was slaying in the morning games. Mike had a mediocre week with little points from the position players and was sledding uphill after Deshaun, Jefferson-Jones, and the Steelers just balled out. Slater smokes Ariola 86-153. I should say Juju putting up a fucking nothing burger, but instead I'm going to go with Zeke here. When the Cowboys really needed a pick-me-up this week, Zeke single-handedly puts him down early with 2 fumbles. He was still involved after a short doghouse stint, but the fuck-ups land him in a shared backfield and gave Slater only 3 points when he had a chance to set a league record. Now I'm going to take both JJs here. Julio Jones and Justin Jefferson just balled out in the same game and ended up as the top 2 wide receivers for the week. 2 touchdowns each and a mile of yards ended up giving Slater 55 points between the 2. Match 3, Corey versus Kevin in the shootout of the week. I will gladly take this shot. A nail biter all the way through. Kevin's choice not to secede and drop anyone paid off this week. We all took a trip into the fucking twilight zone as Corey's running backs could not reach double digits, and all 3 of Kevin's did. Kevin takes down the undefeated 84-99. Alexander Madison looked to be one of the best plays this week, going up against a shitty Atlanta D. But getting down early and looking just flat out slow didn't help Corey. Madison rushed 10 times for 26 yards and only caught one ball, resulting in 2 points.
Showstopper.
Literally seconds before the morning roster's locked, Kevin plugs in DeAndre Swift and it paid off huge. Swift had his breaking out party in Jacksonville, rushing 14 times for 116 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving the beer bitch 23 points. Match 4, Jason versus Ferraris. Another match that was closer than the score says. This one was all about Monday night, as both squads had 4 players each playing in the 2 games. Other than one running back, both teams were very similar up and down the lineup. Both defenses takes a shit, and Jason ends up smelling like a rose, winning 106-88. Gronk has yet to score a touchdown as a Buccaneer, but that all changed Sunday against a Packers team that has virtually shut down the tight end position all season. Gronk caught 5 balls for 78 yards and a touchdown, giving Mike 13 points.
Showstopper.
This one is obvious, right? Derrick Henry had his 3rd career 200-yard game and took control late against the Texans. The Tennessee Bell Cow had 22 carries for 212 yards and 2 catches for 52 with 2 touchdowns. Oh yeah, and one of them was a fucking 94-yarder. Way to go. Match 5, Sam versus Noor. A disappointing week for both quarterbacks set the mood here. Big names don't come through and Sam ends up seeing an abundance of touchdowns from his position players. Aside from Connor and Kittle, Noor's squad shits the bed and loses to Sam 91-78. Tyreek Hill was very quiet in a close game with Buffalo on Monday afternoon. Only seeing 3 targets, Hill just wasn't involved, only catching 3 balls for 20 yards.
Showstopper.
Would you like a young ho? Koo. The South Korean kicker seems to be unaffected by the strain growing that sidelined him in week 4. Koo was 4 for 4 and put up a monster 20 points to help fuck his former owner, Noor. Alright everybody, that does it for the recap, so let's go to the upcoming matchups of week 7. Up and coming
Matchups.
Let's dive right in, huh boys? Match 1, Slater versus Corey. Corey's, is that my dick? Nah, just my vagina. We'll head to Utah to take on Slater and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Corey is limited yet again at running back with his Vikings on a bye. Slater's running backs also have it tough with some hard matchups this week. Both quarterbacks can be in a shootout here, and the Gala expects the same, with early projections close at 100-101 Corey. Zeke is looking for a bounce-back game against a division rival Washington team, and I could see Julio feasting again. Corey is hoping Jonnu will be healthy, and another big game from Aaron Jones. I'm going to be taking Slater to give Corey his 2nd loss here. Match 2, Tony versus Noor. Tony and his Hunt for Rogue October will head east to play Noor and his Edwards Nigma. Tony has his pick of the litter this week at running back with sexy matchups everywhere. Aside from Kittle and Henderson, Noor also has plus matchups to choose from. Noor's wide receivers can definitely expect a better outcome than last week. Projections show this one at 107-100 Tony. Starting Herbert for the first time this year could prove foolish for the hot fun one. Can Tony's running backs outplay Noor's wide receivers? That is the question. And I think so. I'm taking Tony. Match 3, Kevin versus Sam. Kevin asks, need more beer? Wave that hand for the beer, bitch. And he will head out to the Knicks Coliseum to battle Sam's The Riddler, hashtag make Corey draft again. Kevin wants revenge on Sam after having to pay his league fees while wearing a giant vagina on his chest. Stafford and Swift can have big games here against a terrible Falcons defense, though Sam's wide receivers always have a thorn in his opponent's paw. Gallup projects this one at 88 to 86, Sam. And that's with no tight end on his roster. The Packers have been giving up big points to the running back position, so I'm going to guess DJ puts up more than his projected 11. Kevin's wide receivers will need to rely on touchdowns to stay in this one. I'll be taking Sam. Match 4, Jason versus Areola. Jason's Kevin's Lord and Savior will head to the east side to play Areola in his Juju is definitely doo-doo, baby. Jason won't be able to rely on his Raven stack this week and will turn to a Brown stack with Baker and Hooper. Nipple is thin at running back with his rookie Jonathan Taylor on bye and likely no Mostert. The running backs will be big for both men here as Jason has some tough matchups. Projections are low at 92 to 83, Jason, though Mike still needs a kicker. Baker hasn't been great, his high only being 14, though Mike is banged up throughout his entire roster. It's not crazy to expect a bounce back game for Juju, though I do like Bobo's wide receivers more this week. I'll be going with Jason. That just leaves match 5, Ferrari versus Gomez. Mike's Lamb of God will head out to Pornhub Stadium to take on Gomez's What's poppin'? Brand new whip just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that bitch like Stockton. Just joshin'. I'ma spend this holiday locked in. Ferralis is hoping to finally get Michael Thomas back for the first time since week 1, though he is dealing with a hamstring injury. It should be fun to see Gomez rooting for Tom Brady against his beloved Raiders, and to find out if he could survive without his Ravens defense. This match is projected at 100 to 88 in the favor of Ferralis, though Gomez needs to pick up another defense. Hard to tell how the COVID situation will affect the Raiders' O-line and thus Gomez. Rush should continue to cook in a shootout with the Cards, and Mike's wide receivers are set for big weeks. I'll go with Mike here. Alright, boys. You know what this means now. Power Rankings. It's the weekly Power Rankings! Halfway through the regular season, boys. Let's dive right in. Number 10, Kevin Wallen, 2-4. Well, the Wizard sleeve strikes again, handing the league leader his first loss of the season, coming down to an exciting final run in a Monday night showdown. The source of the league's first DQ, Kenyon Drake, comes through big time with a 69-yard touchdown to seal the deal. Number 9, Michael Ferralis, 1-5. Things are spiraling out of control for the reigning champ. In last place with only one win on the year and average scoring output. Changes need to be made quickly, or the league may see something that has yet to be done. First to worst. Number 8, Jason Bercease, 2-4. Securing a win this week on the back of Henry's huge 200-yard, 2-touchdown effort saved this owner from hitting the bottom for now. This owner must be kicking himself for taking measly 2 points from Andrews over a DQ from his beer bitch rival. Number 7, Sam Nix at 3-3. Scratching and clawing his way to a 500 record, this owner can thank all the young hoes for his win this week. And also the minuscule 78 points that his opponent could muster. That was Nora. Sam will need better going forward, and can't rely on 20-point outings from his kicker week in and week out. Number 6, Alejandro Gomez, 3-3. Seems this Raider got to experience life when his top players go on bye. Lack of depth on this roster is apparent, having to start Devontae Freeman when there's no Josh Jacobs. This owner better be praying to the COVID gods that there's no more bye weeks going forward. Number 5, Nor Sandu, 3-3. Back-to-back weeks under 80 points. No bye weeks and no real injuries is a major concern for Nor. After a strong start to the season, Nor must be wondering if he has already peaked for the year. Number 4, Alex Slater, 3-3. Nothing fixes a season faster than a 150-plus point outing. Huge weeks from Watson, Jefferson, and Julio easily secured a win for this owner over the number 2 seed. It seems as Slater will be vying for the top spot shortly if Zeke can fix his fumbling problems. Number 3, Michael Areola, 4-2. Going up against a top 10 all-time scorer is never good, but putting up less than 90 is even worse. In a week where the number 1 seed showed an opening, this strong roster failed to produce. We should expect big changes at the wide receiver position going forward for Mike. Number 2, Tony Funston, 4-2. This bronze master is back at it again with a 120-plus point outing this week. The surprisingly unstoppable duo of Ryan Tannehill and Ronald Jones are paying dividends for the 20-plus outings. Only 60 points behind first place, this owner could reach the top spot soon if this pace keeps up. That just leaves number 1, big surprise, Corey Hart, 5-1. Pop the champagne bottles, boys. The Gala will go another year without an undefeated roster. This owner put up an embarrassing 84 points against an even more embarrassing beer bitch squad for the first loss of the year. COVID, bye weeks, and injuries finally caught up with the top seed as the damage finally outpaced the depth. What depth? Anyway, that does it for this edition of the Weekly Giggity. I wish you all the best this week. We are halfway through. All right. The standings are starting to spread out a little bit more and also bunch up in the middle. And it's getting real, boys. For the Weekly Giggity, I'm looking good. And I'll see you next week. Shop smart, shop S smart. Yeah.